Hey, welcome back to Winland Studios. So I need to shorten up my videos because they were too long to post onto Facebook. So I am redoing the hours of videos that I created over the weekend. So this video, I'm going to talk about supplies. I'm going to go through them really quickly, but I want to try to get some ideas in front of you so that you have an idea of things to look for around your house, or if you're up for making a quick isolated trip to the dollar store or to Walmart, you'll have some options of things to look for. So I'll get started, and thanks again for joining. Hi, okay, so let's talk about paper. So you have several options of what you can look for around your house. Just regular printer paper will work well. And I do go onto a computer and I might create, like this piece, my own book text. So you can make it bigger fonts, smaller fonts, lighter shade, grayscale. So keep that in mind. That's a very inexpensive option. I look for old books that are on my bookshelf that nobody's reading, and I tear out pages. So, you know, there's white page books, there's yellower page. So books are a great resource. Old magazines. Magazines are good. You can find pictures, you can find background colors, you can look for words that might be inspiring to you, that you might want to incorporate into some of your stuff. So look around the house, see what you have for magazines, and you know, just put them aside. I use tissue paper, gift wrap tissue paper all the time for mixed media as well. So I don't know where I got these. I may have got these like at, I don't know, maybe Tuesday morning or the craft store. But I know the dollar store has lots of different options for tissue paper. This one here I did buy there. You get 35 sheets. They're pretty big, and it's $1. So you can cut this into 4 different sizes per sheet, and you'll have lots of options with using this. And it comes in all sorts of multiple colors. So that's a good option as well. I also look for wrapping paper. This one I got at JoAnn's, just in case anybody's interested. So I've had this for a while now, but you know, look around, see if you have any old gift wrap, possibly gift bags. That's a good option as well. But they do add fun to artwork if you have like different varieties. And the other thing too is they have great colors on them. So if you're trying to decide what color you want to do your art, if you look at like tissue papers or wrapping paper, you kind of already get a color theme available. And also I did forget to pull out, but scrapbook paper is also a really good option. So there we go with those. The other thing I want to mention is if you are interested in going out to the craft store, so a mixed media book would be good. They have, their pages are thicker, gives you a little bit more durability in adding like wet product on top of just paper. So it's not necessary, but it's, you know, if you're up for it and you want to get one, you can probably even find one of these like at Walmart. I'm not sure. And then also watercolor paper is actually even better, because you can, if you get a bigger pad, you can cut these in half and you'll have 2 sheets per you know, larger sheet. But again, it's not necessary, but depending on if you're going to follow along with, you know, different projects that we do, then you might want to look at finding some. Okay, so the next we're going to look at is drawing supplies. Okay, so for the most part, I'll show you some of the inexpensive alternatives to use for drawing with your art. Just standard black Sharpies, standard pencils, an eraser. If you don't have some of these other alternatives that I'm going to talk about and you have highlighters, you know what, grab your highlighters. So I generally use a lot of, I have colored pencils, Sharpies, These are just Crayola markers, and I have sidewalk chalk. So there's lots of colors in there. There's lots of things that you can do with this. So look around, see if you have anything that you think might work for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about alternatives to not having our canvases to put your artwork on. So these are 8x8 canvases. These are canvas boards. They're very hard and very durable. Just so you know, I did see these at the dollar store, so you could find them there. They're probably not this size. I think they were more like maybe even a 5x7, but those are there. So these are a great alternative. I don't know if they had canvases. I actually didn't look for that, but if they do, I know they have them at Walmart and they're pretty inexpensive. So that is what I do most of my art on. But again, we're going to use alternatives. So I use cardstock a lot. That comes in various sizes. I did forget to mention this in the paper, so I in the paper section of our video. So the other thing too is you might look to see if you have cardstock or construction paper. So if you do, pull it out, add it to a pile of things that you might want to use. So again, back to alternative canvases. I cut up old boxes and I use cardboard. It can be, you know, big pieces, little pieces. This one has texture and on one side. So that's something to see if you have laying around. A lot of cardboard comes in the middle of, you know, stuff. So, you know, hang on to it. And then also I use possibly a cereal box. This happens to be a pizza box. Inside the pizza that came on this circle cardboard. It's clean. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm saving it because I might want to use it. Okay, so let's talk about paint options. So I use watercolor, and I know that you can get Crayola watercolor pretty inexpensive. I'm sure I saw that at the dollar store as well. This is not Crayola, but watercolor. I just wanted to put it out there for watercolor. There is expensive paints, which if you're just doing this for fun are definitely not a necessity. So I would recommend just looking for some craft paint. You know, you can get little bigger bottles. Again, I saw craft paint at the dollar store and they have it at Walmart. So these are like 59 cents at Walmart. So don't spend a whole lot of money. Just get a few things, maybe get your primary colors and some white and some black, and voila, you can mix some colors. So I also use ink sometimes, not very much, but it's kind of like a watercolor. And I would recommend if you wanted to try something, maybe put some food coloring in a little dish of water and see if you can water that down and use that the same way. There are products that we use as an artist that's called gesso. It's to help adhere your products to your pages. But I did some testing and I do have a video out there. I bought this at the dollar store. It's just white glue, and if you water it down, you can, it actually worked great and I had excellent results. I was really surprised. So don't go buy special products. Get a few bottles of glue and see how you do. I think it would, I think you'll be surprised. Also, I use Mod Podge. This is really good for collaging as well. And this little bottle I did get at the dollar store. I know they have this also at Walmart in a little bit bigger bottles, but maybe start out with one small one, see if you even like doing this technique before you go and spend more, you know, or buy a couple of them at the dollar store. So there is paint options for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about coloring and shading. So I have products that I use quite a bit. I have chalk pastel pencils. I actually have gone out and I've spent quite a bit of money on actual pastel palettes. So, but I will tell you that I have recently, during creating some of my videos, looked for alternatives. So if you have those, great. If you don't, at the dollar store, and I bought eyeshadow. Eyeshadow actually worked really well. So some of the videos, we're going to do some faces. I see these are pretty good skin tones. And then there's a gray scale black black, gray, and white. They had several colors, and I just wanted to test them before I bought other colors, but I would probably look for some purples and some greens and some blues if I was going to make another trip to the dollar store to, just gather some supplies to be able to participate. The other thing too is a lot of the shading can be done again with your sidewalk chalk. I don't know what colors you might have, but I have a whole array of colors. So chalk is a good option. Again, I also picked up some Crayola crayons, and again, I was pretty impressed with how this is working for some of the techniques that I have been testing. So crayons, try those. The other thing too is I do have paint pens, and I ended up thinking this is a eyeliner brush pen. And I did test this. It worked for like the very last application, because if you put a water product over it, it will smudge. So, but they did have different colors of this eyeliner. So this was actually kind of fun. I will probably actually buy myself several of these because I use this type of technique all the time in my drawing of my faces. So I liked that. Okay, last and not least is paintbrushes. So I'm very, very rough on paintbrushes. I do not spend a lot of money on them. I buy them inexpensive. So anyway, paintbrushes are great. So I would, look for some of those if you don't have them. I would probably not buy the watercolor brushes if you're only going to pick out a few brushes, because watercolor brushes do not work well for acrylic paintings. So you want to get something that has a little bit firmer brushes. And watercolor brushes, also the hair comes off quite a bit. So the other thing to also think in mind is that you want a couple different brushes for different types of applications. I use brushes that I use for painting specifically, and then I have brushes that end up looking like this that I use with like my Mod Podge, or that we would use with glue. Try to keep those separate if possible. If not, just make sure you do a good job rinsing your brushes in between applications, because the glue and Mod Podge will ruin your brush. So speaking of brushes, the other thing you'll want is a couple buckets. This is like an old cashew bin. This is a protein powder bin. I keep 2 bins of water by my desk when I'm doing art at all times. One, I put all my dirty brushes as I'm done painting. I put them in here, wash them out, get them as clean as possible. And then I'll wipe them on an old, which I don't have sitting out here, but I also keep old dish towels. So one that you can use over and over and over again. I've had the same dish towel for 2 years, so it's not like you're going to go through a bunch of them, and they can dry out overnight, so don't worry about that. But I scrub, and then wipe it on my dish towel, and then I stick it in the clean water. And for the most part, I have brushes that sit like this in the water upside down the whole time I'm doing my art. At the end of the day, just make sure, take your brushes out and wash them with nice hot soapy water. If you're a kid that's following me, see if your parents can help you. Make sure you get them clean. And then just when you're done at the end of the day, you can just lay them out on your towel and let them dry. So brushes are something to just keep clean and try to wash them at the end of the day, so so that you'll have them to last.